Raider Nation, what's going on? You're watching the Raiders Report, and coming up here on today's show, we're going to be getting into the latest going on around the Giants star cornerback, James Bradberry, because the general manager had some interesting things to say about him. Trayvon Mullen, we got an injury update on him. Kyle Van Noy, bad news around this one. And then at the very end of today's show, and probably the reason why you clicked on this video, because the Las Vegas Raiders actually cut Denzelle Good. Before we get into all of these topics, I want to tell y'all, hit that subscribe button and turn on those notifications. Last week, we had 600 new subscribers, so to all of the new subs, what's going on? I appreciate everyone tuning into the #1 most watched Raider show in the world. For those of you that don't have your notifications on, there is a bell underneath the video. You click that, you click all. That way, you never miss a thing going on around the Raiders. Could the Las Vegas Raiders go out and get the big name player that is James Bradberry? And the reason why we're talking about this is because Bradberry has been somewhat linked to the silver and black for months now. And if the Giants, who still sound like they're trying to trade him, I don't think it's going to ultimately end up happening, but Giants general manager Joe Schoen said that there's going to be a resolution by the end of the week. Well, we're here at Thursday. I'm patiently waiting to figure out what exactly happens with him. We all kind of knew that the Giants were more than likely going to move on from it, save some $10 million in cap space. And here is what Joe Schoen had to say about James Bradberry. I thought there would be more interest. There were some teams that showed interest pre-draft, and we had a couple of different times there were compensation in place, and the contracts never worked out. Being the fact that we did have good talks with other teams, and their agents have good talks with teams sometimes. If you're going to renegotiate a contract and you couldn't come to an agreement, it is what it is. So hearing that there's going to be a resolution, I believe James Bradberry sooner rather than later is going to be released. And we're going to talk about whether or not the Raiders have interest in him. But the Raiders Report is all about y'all being the GMs. I want to know down in the comments section right now. Type Y for yes or type N for no, because I'm going to tell you whether or not the Raiders have interest in him. Should the Raiders go ahead and sign James Bradberry? So do the Raiders have interest in Bradberry? I'm going to go ahead and give this one 4 just win babies. Believe it, baby. He's played with Patrick Graham. He knows the system. He has connections in that regard. He also, on top of that, has connections with defensive backs and pass game coordinator Jason Simmons. Plus, if the Raiders aren't 100% sold on the cornerbacks in the room, and judging by all the players that they brought in the pre-draft process, judging by the fact that Trayvon Mullen just had another surgery, judging by the fact that they were so unconfident in the cornerback room, they went ahead and they traded away Yannick Ngakoue for Rock Ya-Sin. So as it stands right now, the Raiders' cornerback depth chart is this. You got Mullen as one of your starters. Nate Hobbs is going to be a starter. Rock Ya-Sin is going to be a starter. McDaniels, though, wants to feel confident in 5 defensive backs. Are there 5 DBs on this roster that I am confident in right now? Yes, there are. But you know what? In this division, man, if you can upgrade, you have to consider it. So let's just hypothetically say the Raiders go ahead, they watch the Raiders Report, they go ahead and they sign James Bradberry. This is what the room would look like. And I don't know about you, I feel a lot more confident about it. Coming up now here on the Raiders Report, we're going to get into the Trayvon Mullen injury latest. On Tuesday, I talked about briefly what happened to Mullen and his surgery, but now we have a lot more details on that. Before I get into all of those details, though, major shout out to everyone who is already a member over on Locals. And sometimes, you know, I don't really tell people enough how much I appreciate our Locals members. And if you want to become a member, all you got to do is scan this QR code right here, or you can go to RaidersReport.locals.com. And the reason why I want to just show more love to everyone out there is because the people that become Locals members are the people that just want more content, more exclusive content. So just know I appreciate everyone who's already over there, and it's also an easier way for me to see what type of videos you want to see, what type of content. And this is Thursday. I'm actually going to be making an extra video out there. Why? Because people on Locals told me, hey, Mitch, can we get a video today? So thank you to everyone who's already a part of it. Thank you for this opportunity to build even greater relationships with Raider Nation. So here's the picture that Trayvon Mullen posted just a few days ago on his Instagram, and he, kind of put that update there on his foot, and people didn't know. Is it a foot? It's an ankle. From what I've been told, it's the toe injury, which definitely should scare a little bit of people. So before I tell you how concerned I am about it, what is your level of concern for Trayvon Mullen's injury? Go down to the comments and scale it for me, 1 to 10. 1 being, Mitch, dude, you're overreacting. pump the brakes a little bit. 10, you're pulling your hair out and you're freaking out. I'm going to go ahead and give this one, should the injury around Trayvon Mullen concern Raider fans? Yes, 4 just win babies, believe it, baby. And I get it. He had surgery in the offseason, which is a lot of times what you want players to do. However, he's battled injuries essentially his entire career. From the time he was a rookie, from his second year, was he able to play in all 16 games his second year? Yes. But if you follow the team, you'll know that he really wasn't all that healthy for many of them. Missed 12 games last season due to the toe injury, and the fact that this toe injury happened on October 4th, 2021, and it still hasn't been resolved, to me, that scares me. So my level of concern is going to be a 7 or an 8, but you should absolutely be at least a little bit of a concern. In terms of why did Mullen wait, he waited to get the surgery because some people ask me, Mitch, why did he wait so long? Think about it. He waited until after the draft. He saw all the rumors. He saw all the reports, and he made a business decision for himself, which I'm not going to blame the guy. When you know that you're bringing in a new coach, when you know you're bringing in a new regime, and there is all these reports out there about them having interest in a cornerback, if you get a surgery before the draft, if anything, that puts you on the hot seat even more. So I hope that Trayvon is okay because I've seen this young man play. And I remember the day he went up against Tyreek Hill all the way back in 2019, and he shut down Tyreek Hill. Flat out, one-on-one, shut him down. The injuries have started to pile up. He's probably never going to be a solid cornerback 1, but he can be a cornerback 2. And if he's not healthy, I don't want the Raiders to fall into a situation like you saw last year where they depended on somebody, Richie Incognito. He was never able to be out there on the field, and it puts your team in a bad position. I want Trayvon out there, but if he's not healthy, can you actually rely on him? The next story coming up here, and this one breaks my heart a little bit because, man, I've been talking about Kyle Van Noy on this show for a long, long time, and it makes a lot of sense for the Raiders to go out and get him. It also makes a lot of sense for the Chargers to try to go out and get him. And according to Ian Rappaport early this morning, Patriots veteran free agent linebacker Kyle Van Noy is meeting with the Chargers. If all goes well, there is a good chance he signs, a potential important addition to Brandon Staley's defense. The reason why this is a smart move for the Chargers is because if there's one defensive player who, maybe minus Donta Hightower, maybe minus Jamie Collins, knows what Josh McDaniels is thinking, it's probably Kyle Van Noy, because even the year he didn't play with New England, he played underneath Brian Flores, who was a New England disciple, and then was also in that division. So Van Noy going over to the Chargers, it might not ring an alarm to a lot of Raider fans. It should, though. This is going to be somebody who knows what McDaniels is thinking, going to be somebody who knows what the whole regime is going to try to do here for the Silver and Black. And the Chargers get better. The AFC West continues to get better. Yesterday, I put out a video here on the show, which was my top Raiders free agent targets. As you can see, Kyle Van Noy was on the show. So there's still 9 other players there that I want you guys to go ahead and check out. I also sprinkled in 5 other honorable mentions. So if you haven't hit that subscribe button yet, if you are one of our new 600 subs, we put out videos every single day. We also go live every single Tuesday, 6 p.m. Eastern Time, 3 p.m. Pacific. So please go ahead and check out all the awesome videos we have here at the Raiders Report. The next thing coming up here on the show is going to be around Denzelle Good. And could Good be getting cut, which kind of breaks my heart a little bit because I like Denzelle. And the reason why we're talking about this is not only of some of the certain things the Raiders have done in the draft and not only of certain things in the offseason, the Raiders sign another UDFA. And this kind of also adds some fuel to the whole what's happening with Josh Jacobs fire, which I'm not really going to talk about too much here on today's show. But Sincere McCormick is a very under-the-rated running back who I like quite a bit. He's 5'9", 205 pounds last season for the Roadrunners. Nearly 300 carries, nearly 1,500 yards, 15 touchdowns. Last season, he averaged 5.9 yards per carry. His 3 years that he's played at UTSA, he's had some pretty solid production. Now, yes, he is still a UDFA, and he's probably going to be battling it out with Trey Regis for a style of a role. But for the Raiders to be bringing in this amount of running backs, the whole Josh Jacobs trade rumors, all I'm saying, man, should not go anywhere. In terms of how many players are on the roster right now, if my math is correct, and I say that just being honest with you, if my math is correct, the Raiders are at 91 players. That can't happen. So essentially, you have to move on from a dude. And yes, it could be an under-the-radar style of player, But if the Raiders want to go ahead and move away from an interior offensive lineman like Denzelle Good, they can do it, and they can save $3.7 million this season. I like Denzelle. He's a good player. He tore his ACL in the season opener last year and apparently is about 95% healthy. He has already passed his physical. It's just, I'm a big person in terms of reading the tea leaves, reading what the organization is doing. And if the Raiders were to play a game today, I personally believe that Denzelle is the best option at left guard, which he can play left guard, he can play right guard, he can play right tackle, he can play all over the offensive line. And back in 2020, Derek Carr called Denzelle Good the MVP of the team because of all the injuries that the Raiders sustained on the O-line. So we're going to continue to talk about this topic here and whether the Raiders are going to cut him. I'm going to let you know here in a second. But come on, y'all. Let me know down in the comments what the nation is thinking. Type K for keep, or I want you to go ahead and type C for cut should the Raiders cut Denzelle Good. In terms of moving on from Denzelle, I'm going to go ahead and give this one 2 just win babies. And if you can save $3.71 million, not that it's a lot of money, but it is something. And the other reason why I can go ahead and say this is because of they did bring in a new regime. And Josh McDaniels, Dave Ziegler, they're not Denzelle Good doesn't owe them anything. Carmen Brasillo doesn't owe Denzelle anything. And if you're not 100% sure if he is actually going to be able to help your team, yes, he passes physical. Yes, all these things indicate that he is. But what happens if this Raiders organization is like, you know what? I like the other guys more. And that could potentially happen. So I'm going to say if I was in the Raiders room, the only way that I am moving on from Denzelle Good is if you are confident in the other backups. And the 3 players that I'm really going to point my finger at here, first being Jermaine Illuminor. Do I see Jermaine Illuminor playing left guard? No, probably not. But he could play right guard. You could also potentially kick Alex Leatherwood over to left guard. What also tells me that the Raiders are confident in Illuminor. They re-signed him this offseason, not for a lot, about 1.5. But he's also played with Carmen Brasillo. He's also been a member of the New England Patriots. Another player they got to be confident in, Dylan Parham, who you drafted in round 3, number 90. And I said on Tuesday, Dylan Parham is going to be a starting player on this offensive line. I see him starting at center. So you're like, all right, well, what does that do necessarily for Denzelle? If you're going to put Parham, let's say, at center, maybe then you throw Alex Leatherwood left guard, right guard, Jermaine Illuminor could potentially start. Or another player that you got to be very confident in, and I do not view John Simpson as a starter. But if you view John Simpson as being a reliable backup, left guard, right guard, then moving on from Denzelle Good could be a ballsy decision. But if you're considering the fact of, okay, you're going to start targeting and talking about players like James Bradberry, Darrell Williams, some of maybe these other top free agents out there, the Raiders, as it sits right now, have only $5.8 million in salary cap space, which ranks 26 in the National Football League. Sure, you move on from Denzelle, you could use that potential extra $3.7 million to get somebody. But if $3.7 million can help you get somebody like James Bradberry, if $3.7 can help you get somebody like Darrell Williams, and you're confident in Jermaine Illuminor, John Simpson, Dylan Parham, or your other offensive linemen, maybe even like a Thaler Munford, who you drafted in round 7, then I can understand the Raiders being okay with the idea of moving on from Denzelle Good. Now, guys, before I wrap up today's show, I just want to say a major shout-out to everyone who made it this far in the video, and I wanted to save this announcement for the end of the show because I know the people that usually watch till the ends, y'all are the real ones out there. My flight is booked to go visit Raider Ron in the Bay Area. If you want the details on what days I'm going to be out in the Bay Area hanging out with Raider Ron, having a few drinks on Saturday night, then go ahead, hit me up on Instagram, hit me up on Twitter. I posted it on my Twitter. It's on my Instagram story, at Mitchell Renz 365.